can't be trusted. Trump traitor Robert Charles. Woke, radical, wrong. Just too liberal for Maine.
Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center is your destination for all things green, and yellow, and pink, and red, and, well, you'll understand when you visit us. Plants aren't just another department here. They're our whole world. From gardening classes to our expansive greenhouses, we cultivate a community of budding and seasoned gardeners alike. Professional landscapers turn to us too. Shouldn't you? Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center, growing with you since 1947.
When there's a big job to do, you send the person you know will deliver. Joe Baldacci. Lowering grocery prices, protecting Medicare, defending a woman's right to choose. Those are big jobs. Joe Baldacci's always delivered for Maine. He passed laws making healthcare easier to get and helped restore mental health centers. Joe Baldacci goes to work for us in Maine. And in Congress, he will too. Project 218 is responsible for the content of this ad.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Some good news for drivers. Gas prices have fallen 4.9 cents a gallon in the last week. According to Gas Buddy's survey of more than 1,200 stations across the state of Maine, the average price is $4.46 a gallon. That's 27.5 cents a gallon higher than a month ago, and $1.42 a gallon higher than a year ago. And now to our next story. Some members of the Waldo County community came together tonight for a vote on the RSU 71 budget. The district, which includes the towns of Belfast, Belmont, Searsmont, Swanville, and Morrill, is seeing a 2.7% increase in their upcoming budget. The total amount is over $33.7 million.
I would say the prior year budget, we had an 8% increase, so which was higher than most of the other people. So this is more in line with traditionally 5%.
4 of the towns in the district are seeing an increase between 4 and 5% in terms of budget payments. But due to an increase in property valuation, those in Swanville are nearing a 13% increase. Taxpayers say it's a massive concern.
I'm very concerned about my elderly who are not going to be able to pay their taxes. It's just going to go up. Everyone's is going to go up.
Locals passed all 24 articles preliminarily. The official vote for this budget will be held on June 9th. All right, folks, after the break, we'll take a look outside the state at some national stories. We'll be right back.
This spring, invest in your nest with the County Federal Credit Union. Your home has grown in value season after season. With the county's 1010 Home Equity Line of Credit, you can borrow up to your credit limit over 10 years with interest-only payments over those 10 years. 1010. And then you can stop and smell the roses, soak up the sun, and invest in your nest. The 1010 Home Equity Line of Credit, the County Federal Credit Union, countyfcu.org.
From the heart of Maine, where rugged beauty meets timeless craftsmanship, Richard Henderson and Sons Masonry, taming the outdoors through groundwork, retaining walls and seawalls, building custom fireplaces that become the centerpiece of your home, crafting granite steps and patios that invite you outdoors, designing hardscapes that turn yards into living spaces, built to last, crafted for life. Richard Henderson and Sons Masonry, quality in every stone.
People ask me all the time, does Lowry & Associates really get all of those clients, all of those big settlements? Yes, we do. And you know what else is true? I really am standing on top of this big truck.
Craving something delicious? Welcome to High Street Market, located at 167 Enfield Road in Lincoln. Breakfast options? Grab a cup of coffee and try one of our sandwiches or burritos. When breakfast is over, we're just getting started. Pizza, subs, burgers, and pastries. Come get lost in Danny's Beer Cave. Order online and save 10% off your first order. High Street Market, where your taste buds go to party.
This is the big leagues.
4 international territories compete for the title of Global Master Chef.
It's Master Chef. Anything can happen.
Is this a Band-Aid?
Master Chef Global Gauntlet. All new Wednesdays on Fox and watch anytime on Hulu.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. To some national headlines now. An implosion at a packaging company facility left at least one person dead and multiple people injured. The pulp and paper mill, which employs about 1,000 people, makes materials for tissues, cups, and plates, among other items. Fox News correspondent Christina Coleman has more from the first responders.
The incident is stable, but is in recovery phase.
At least 10 people are injured after a chemical tank imploded at a pulp and paper mill in southwestern Washington state, about 50 miles north of Portland. The injuries range from minor to critical. A firefighter who was injured received treatment at a nearby hospital.
At this time, there are also individuals who remain unaccounted for.
Authorities confirmed there were also fatalities. It's unclear how many victims died. Officials want to notify their families before releasing that information.
At this time, officials have identified no immediate threat to the surrounding community, and we're still asking the public to avoid the area while we're still in the recovery phase.
The 80,000-gallon tank that imploded was about 60% full and contained a chemical called white liquor. It's considered extremely dangerous and is highly reactive.
It is a chemical mixture of sodium hydroxide, sodium sulfide, and disodium carbonate that is used in the paper making process.
Officials said 40 firefighters and paramedics responded to the scene, as well as a hazmat team. The state's ecology department is also sending a team to test whether the area's water supply was contaminated, and the governor directed the National Guard to remain on alert.
People who are responders here have friends and relatives that work on site. It is something that is impactful.
The cause of the implosion is still under investigation. Christina Coleman, Fox News.
The Ebola outbreak in West Africa is leading officials here in this country to expand screening efforts at major airports. Atlanta's Hartsfield Jackson is monitoring travelers arriving from the continent. Fox News correspondent Steve Harrigan is in Atlanta with the details.
Passengers on at least 2 flights from the Democratic Republic of Congo landing here today will be screened for the Ebola virus. All passengers from the region are being rerouted to 3 U.S. airports: Atlanta, Houston, and Dulles International in Virginia.
You have to be extremely ill, fatigued, almost to the point of being unconscious, vomiting, diarrhea, for you to be at high risk. And I do not see anyone at all with those types of symptoms ever being allowed to get into an airport, much less on an airplane.
Ebola numbers are exploding in Central Africa. At least 900 reported cases and 220 deaths. But the real numbers could be much higher. For this rare strain, Bundabujo, there is no vaccine, and up to 50% of infections are fatal. In war-torn eastern Congo and Uganda, there is little to stop the spread. Shortages of protective suits, gloves, even basics like soap and water. Ebola is spread through contact with bodily fluids, and dead bodies can continue to infect the living. Funerals larger than 50 have been banned in parts of Congo, while several hospitals have come under violent attack by family members seeking their loved ones' bodies. For the next 30 days, non-U.S. citizens who've recently traveled to the affected areas will not be allowed entry into the U.S., something that could cause complications with the start of the World Cup. The Congo soccer team is currently in Belgium. The team has to quarantine for 3 weeks to be allowed into the U.S. In Atlanta, Steve Harrigan, Fox News.
In other news, the minister is calling the top U.S. diplomats a liar, profiteer, and fake Cuban. He's also appealing to Congress to avoid going to war with Cuba. Fox News senior foreign policy correspondent Jillian Turner sat down with the foreign minister for an exclusive interview and has the latest from New York.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio told me, sir, on Thursday that the Cuban regime poses a direct national security threat to the United States of America. He mentioned an arsenal of military drones provided to the regime by the Russians, by the Chinese. He alluded to reporting in the United States last week that the Cuban government has even discussed internally potential plans to attack U.S. military targets. Is any of that true?
We will have to ask the Secretary of State if he has any evidence. I have heard him lying on and on regarding this issue. Cuba is, of course, a sovereign state with a right to defend itself, but the U.S. is an extraordinary military power. I can affirm you categorically that Cuba is not, nor does it want to be a threat to the U.S. It is not, nor does it want to be an enemy.
Mr. Minister, you say the Secretary of State is lying, sir, but do you deny specifically that the Cuban regime has a stockpile of Russian and Chinese-made military drones or plans to potentially launch proactive attacks on the U.S.?
It is a sheer slander. I repeat, the Secretary of State is deliberately lying when affirming that Cuba is a threat to the U.S. or that Cuba has military plans against the U.S. I regret the Secretary of State to instigate on and on military action and a change of regime action against our country. He is deliberately lying in order to deceive the U.S. people, in order to justify a policy that has no moral or legal grounds.
Secretary Rubio made a video last week where he spoke to the Cuban people directly, and he said the real reason for your suffering right now is because the Cuban regime has plundered all of your country's resources. What's your response to that?
People out in the streets wonder if the Secretary of State really knows what is going on in this world, or if he is addressing the Cuban people with profound cynicism, with a big deal of shamelessness, because the Secretary of State is one of the main masterminds behind the military threat against Cuba, the energy blockade. He was not born in Cuba. He does not know Cuba. He knows nothing about Cuba, whose parents left Cuba long before the Cuban Revolution, long before the triumph of the Cuban Revolution, but he has politically profiteered throughout his entire life, portraying himself as a figure of the Cuban exile.
The foreign minister dismissed the Department of Justice's indictment last week of former Cuban President Raul Castro, calling it a politically motivated decision. He also prevailed on the U.S. Congress to try and intervene to prevent President Trump from any further military action inside Cuba. In New York, Jillian Turner, Fox News.
In other news, days after a deadly strike on Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, Russia is threatening to ramp up its attacks. It's calling on the U.S. and other countries to leave as quickly as possible. Fox News senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Pellicott has more.
Russia launching one of its biggest attacks on Ukraine's capital Sunday, killing at least 4 people and injuring nearly 100 others. Now Moscow is warning Western countries to withdraw diplomats and foreign citizens from the city ahead of fresh strikes.
Every time you see these big strikes from one side or the other, it's a reminder of why this is a terrible war that's now gone on longer than the Second World War.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio says Russia informed him they would be launching consistent attacks on Ukrainian military facilities and decision-making centers. On Tuesday, European leaders signaled they would not leave and described the threats as attempts to intimidate Ukraine.
They want fear and isolation in Ukraine and elsewhere.
The U.S. led peace talks between Russian and Ukrainian delegations, but after months of diplomacy, those discussions reached a stalemate, with territorial concessions remaining a sticking point.
This war must be ended, and ended in a dignified way. America's role truly must be, and can be, one of leadership.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is asking the U.S. to renew its efforts to end the war. He says recent battlefield gains have allowed troops to stabilize Ukraine's front lines.
Ukrainians have put up a great fight. This was very much, David versus Goliath, and the Ukrainians seem to have come out on top.
Ukraine's foreign ministry says the country is prepared to assist diplomatic personnel seeking additional security measures. In London, Greg Pellicott, Fox News.
All right, folks, we have more national headlines after the break. Stay right here.
Whoever wins
the most duels earns the territory freeze.
It's the best advantage the floor has ever had.
Bring it!
The Floor is all new Wednesdays on Fox.
Graham Plattner says police officers are all backwards. He makes racist comments about black people. And if you disagree with Plattner, he calls you retarded and a fag. Read more here. Pine Tree Results Pack is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Need a driveway paved or an entire road surfaced? Give Eaton Paving and Excavation a call. Eaton Paving offers a full line of excavation packages, from new home projects to new and replacement septics and driveways. We also install new shoreland and do shoreland repairs. Our operators have more than 75 years combined experience, and we have been delivering quality, professional service for nearly 3 decades. We strive to exceed your expectations. Give us a call today at 207-348-5630 or visit us at eatonpaving.com.
Welcome to outdoor living. Welcome to Granville Stone and Hearth. Goodness knows we've been cooped up long enough. Make plans now to enjoy the outside of your home too. Come to Granville and see, touch, and imagine what you can do in your backyard. Light a path, light a fire, grill a meal, sit a bit. It's all in stock. There's a staycation right outside your door with expert help from Granville, one of the largest outdoor living suppliers in Maine. Granville Stone and Hearth, Main Road, Holden.
Whether you're hurt by a landscaping truck like this, a work van like this, or any commercial vehicle, we know how to get you the big money you may deserve.
Hurt by a commercial vehicle? Call the twos. We win for you.
Cancer affects everyone, but there is hope at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center's Champion the Cure Challenge, where every dollar raised helps patients in our own backyard. Make a difference. Walk, run, or cycle August 15th in Brewer. Visit ctcchallenge.org.
20 years of bigotry and hate from Graham Plattner. He calls police officers all backwards, and Plattner insults black people, saying they don't tip. Read more at bigotedplattner.com. Pine Tree Results Pack is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. The showdown continues outside a federal detention facility in Newark, New Jersey. ICE agents are standing at the ready as protests have shut down part of the street near Delaney Hall. Fox News correspondent Alexis McAdams is in Newark with the latest.
Another day and another protest outside of the ICE detention facility in Newark, New Jersey. Some people wearing gas masks facing off against ICE agents outside of the 1,000-person detention center called Delaney Hall. Protesters say the migrants are facing inhumane conditions. Democrats like New Jersey Congressman Rob Menendez toured that facility.
The conditions continue to plague this facility. Everyone inside has wanted us to make clear to everyone watching is that these are individuals who have no criminal record.
DHS is pushing back, saying the facility has migrant criminals in the country illegally, like gang members and violent offenders. The agency also says people are eating and there is no hunger strike.
This goes now to the bigger question with the Democratic Party. Is this what they will do if they get control of the House and the Senate? They want to shut down ICE. They've already tried it in every way possible.
Protesters say ICE used pepper spray when protesters tried to block a vehicle.
Adding ICE agents into the mix last night to seemingly try to increase tensions and ratchet them up.
Democrat New Jersey Senator Andy Kim also went inside. Kim says he had to rinse his eyes after he was exposed to pepper spray.
Using pepper spray on a United States senator? I mean, at that point, I think they were completely out of control.
And the protests continue here. You can see it behind me as DHS says these people are obstructing law enforcement and could face federal charges. Reporting in Newark, New Jersey, I'm Alexis McAdams, Fox News.
NASA has big plans and they involve possibly living on the moon one day. The lunar base is a core part of NASA's Artemis program. Just last month, NASA successfully completed the Artemis II mission, which sent astronauts around the far side of the moon for the first time in half a century. In 2028, the first crewed lunar landing is set to take place during Artemis IV, all of which will help lay the foundation for the construction of a moon base, giving humans a permanent presence on and around the moon over the next decade or so. Fox News correspondent Dana Marie McNichol is in Miami with more.
Thanks to the success of the recent Artemis II mission, NASA's next zip code could be out of this world. The space agency says it wants to build a permanent base on the moon for astronauts to eventually live and work.
People are looking up again, believing in big things again, and paying attention as America returns to the moon again.
The proposed South Pole base is estimated to cost $20 billion and will serve as the launching spot for future Mars missions. It's a 3-phase project expected to take over a decade to complete.
We envision the moon base to be hundreds of square miles with different assets, all building up to the objective of permanent lunar presence on the moon.
The next Artemis mission, Artemis 3, is expected to launch sometime in mid-2027, with the goal of testing flight procedures and docking capabilities in low Earth orbit. The mission will also include new spacesuits.
And we go for the technology we will pioneer to get there, the science and all that we will learn that will make life better here on Earth, to advance humankind on this great adventure, to inspire the next generation to do it better than we can.
Then comes Artemis 4, aiming to return humans to the moon's surface for the first time in over 50 years. In Miami, Dana Marie McNichol, Fox News.
Well, after months of soaring fertilizer prices, farmers are hoping for some relief. Fox Business correspondent Grady Trimble is at a farm in Illinois with more.
America's farmers are cautiously optimistic that a potential deal between the U.S. and Iran could finally lead to lower fertilizer prices. Just like oil, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz has limited fertilizer supply, causing costs to skyrocket. Over the past month, the price of nitrogen-based urea fertilizer has fallen some 27% from its peak, but it's still nearly 10% higher than a year ago. A survey last month by the American Farm Bureau Federation found the vast majority of farmers can't afford the fertilizer they need to get through this planting season. The Agriculture Department is taking steps to try to mitigate higher prices, like waiving the Jones Act, loosening import restrictions, and meeting with companies.
Some things we can wait out. I mean, I can wait out my 27 crop fertilizer purchases. I can wait out replacing a tractor for a year. Some things we can't wait out. I have to buy nitrogen next week to apply to the crop next week.
Further down the supply chain, Americans are feeling the pinch of higher costs at stores. The Conference Board's Consumer Confidence Index fell for the first time in 3 months as the latest inflation data shows food prices are up 3.2% from last year. In Maple Park, Illinois, Grady Trimble, Fox Business.
All right, folks, Chase Ropeneck is in next with your full 5-day forecast.
Nice and warm today with highs near 80. There were a few showers and thunderstorms up north, but we got a more wet and cool pattern on the way, especially for this weekend where highs will be in the 50s and rain chances look to be in the area. We'll have more details coming right up.
Serving is more than a tradition. It's a call, and you've answered it. It's your legacy, and it deserves to be recognized. That's why we're proud to extend exclusive offers to military personnel active or retired. You move this country forward, and we're riding with you.
Get this low-mileage lease on this 2026 Chevrolet Equinox for around $299 per month. Plus, eligible military personnel can get $1,000 bonus cash on most Chevy models.
On the Road, broadcasting the news at 6, live from Bar Harbor, is brought to you by First National Bank, with locations throughout Maine, your Maine community bank. Coastal Auto Parts, your local Napa Auto Parts dealer with 30 locations, owned and operated by a Maine family that cares. Spruce & Gussie in Bar Harbor offers products curated for both beauty and function, blending Maine practicality with playful irreverence.
I'm Jordan Wood. Everywhere I go, Mainers tell me they've had enough. Tired of higher costs, exhausted by endless wars, and worn out by corporate greed. Washington is failing us. It's time for a new generation to fight Trump and the billionaires. I've already taken on election deniers and won. I'll never take a dime from corporate PACs or lobbyists. I'm Jordan Wood, and I approve this message because I'll fight corruption, defend our democracy, and finally pass Medicare for all.
Thursday, it's Fox Movie Night.
Does he know that we dated? I'm falling in love again.
I'm gonna need so much therapy.
The television premiere of There She Goes, Thursday on Fox.
Thank you very much. Tonight's weather is brought to you by Patriot General Contractors, your go-to for all your carpentry needs, whether it's a full remodel or a window replacement, they have you covered. All right, it was a nice, hot, steamy one out there for today in Bangor, 81 degrees here. Now, the sea breeze kept you better off along the coastline, especially from Rockland to Machias. Low to mid-70s for you today, still very comfortably warm out there, but 80s for Waterville, Augusta, Lewiston at 83, Freiburg at 85 for today, even still 82 in Millinocket, but mid to upper 70s in the northern tier of the state for areas of Clayton Lake, Presque Isle, and Holton out there this afternoon. So some showers and thunderstorms moved in for the northern tier of the state this evening. Now they're starting to push into the Millinocket area for tonight, but many of us still with lows in the low to mid 60s for tonight. Many of us right around 60. A few of us can see some 50s out there, especially the further north you go for tonight. Now into tomorrow, that front is still going to be in the central portion of the state. So just south of that front, we're still going to get the warm temperatures. Near 80 here in Bangor, some 70s can be had out there with cloud cover. And again, the sea breeze along your coastline, keeping you in the low to mid 70s from Deer Isle into the Machias area. But as you can see up north, your afternoon highs are going to be much cooler because the front has already passed for you. So you're looking at highs near the 60s for tomorrow. So the average high right around 69 degrees. We're looking to be about 10 degrees above that here in Bangor for tomorrow. But a cooler, wet pattern is on the way. Really starting for your Thursday. We're going to have some cloudy skies, a few rain showers out there, but chances increase for Friday, Saturday, even into Sunday evening as well. Now things do look to clear out and warm up later into next week. By Monday and Tuesday, we're getting closer to average, and to Tuesday, we'll be back above average in the mid-70s. So as you see out there, winds tonight could be a little breezy early on. They're going to slowly die down throughout tonight. And to tomorrow, though, right when that front is passing through the area, we'll have some gusty winds that can reach up to 20 to 25 miles per hour at times. They won't last too long, and if you do get a thunderstorm out there, there could be some gusty winds underneath that as well. So keep that in mind, but by Thursday morning, lighter winds, but still a breeze out there, reaching near 15 miles per hour at times. So again, there is a front in the area. It's kind of stalling out. It's just north of Bangor for tonight. So here after midnight, a few rumbles of thunder can still be had with us. Otherwise, just some showers out there, and they'll linger off into the early morning hours. Here's 3 a.m. right. They're getting out of here. Into tomorrow, we're looking at that front arriving right around 2 p.m. So that's going to be arriving towards your coastal regions, but behind the front is where you can see a few isolated showers and thunderstorms. Not everyone is going to see a thunderstorm. Many of us look to stay dry throughout your Wednesday. That's why we only have it at a slight chance for tomorrow. Now, as we get into your Thursday morning, we can see some showers out there, but dry air moves in right after the morning hours. So you can see this, it all fizzles out, and not much of that's going to reach the surface. It can be the same for the morning. We just got to know when that moisture exits the state. So keep that in mind as well. But for tonight, we got lows in the low 60s. Going to be a warm night tonight. Partly cloudy skies, a few thunderstorms to our north. Mainly going to stay dry here in Bangor with some breezy winds from the south. For tomorrow, highs just near 80 degrees. We can do it for tomorrow if we get a little bit more sunshine, but it's expected to be partly cloudy with that slight chance for a few showers and thunderstorms. Looking to be isolated out there. Otherwise breezy with winds gusting near 25 miles per hour from the west. So here's a look at your extended forecast. We are going to cool off Thursday in the 60s, a slight chance for rain, but better chances Friday and Saturday. Unfortunately, those highs are only in the mid-50s, back near 60 for your Sunday. Dry early on, but can see another chance for some rain showers later in the day.
Good to know, Chase. Thank you for that report. Folks, sports is next with Jack Webb, so stay right here. We'll be right back.
At Old Town Redemption Center, we are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
Keep your vehicle running smooth this summer with help from Frost's Garage.
It's really hot in my car all the time.
We'll get you AC service, no problem.
Really pulls to one side and shakes a lot.
Sounds like you need some front-end work. Not a problem.
It really used to fly. Now it barely just chugs along.
Could just need a tune-up. We'll take a look.
No matter the issue, Frost's Garage will keep your vehicle safe all year long.
I'd say it flies now.
Think you know Robert Charles? Think again. While President Trump was crushing the woke left, DC insider Bob Charles was cashing in, making millions holding lucrative contracts with the woke DEI Never Trump Obama administration. Bob Charles, looking the other way, abandoning the MAGA movement, working for liberal DEI-loving Democrats, failing President Trump. Anything for a buck chuck can't be trusted. Trump traitor Robert Charles, woke, radical, wrong. Just too liberal for Maine.
At Old Town Redemption Center, We are always ready to help with any fundraisers or bottle drives. We are here to help our community. Like and follow us on Facebook for upcoming weekly holiday giveaways and our monthly $100 drawing.
We're ready for baseball, and off we go.
Major League Baseball, all season long on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. We'll start with the Celtics. Even though their season ended just under a month ago, the C's made news on Tuesday night. Joe Mazzulla was named NBA Coach of the Year for the 2025-26 season. He led the Celtics to a 56 wins and a number 2 seed in the Eastern Conference amidst what was supposed to be a down year for the Celtics without Jason Tatum for the first 3 quarters of the season. The Celtics did, of course, end up blowing a 3-1 series lead in the first round to the 76ers, but the awards are based on the regular season. Well, we will begin with a high-stakes doubleheader between the Herman Hawks and Ellsworth Eagles. We'll kick things off with softball. Hawks looking to get their 10th win of the year, but this one starts very defensive. Cameron Clough with a beautiful strikeout to end the top of the first inning. No runs allowed. Now here's a hit from the Eagles, but Hawks pitcher Mikel Ferrero with the cleanup in the toss to first for the out. Again, no runs allowed. Our first base hit of the day comes from Ellsworth. It's Clough who hits this one, and she makes it to first base, but Verrill is able to close it out before Herman can score. A big hit for Herman in the second inning, but tracking it down is going to be Abigail Doyle. Clean catch and the out in the fourth inning. We're going to have our first score of the ball game. My goodness, it was a good one. Ellsworth's Alley with a deep hit. It's dropped in a missed throw, allows her to score the inside the park homer. But Herman comes back and wins 2-1 in 9 innings. Let's make the switch to baseball now. Same matchup, same location. We pick it up in the fourth. Ellsworth up 3-0. The Hawks, Tommy Meserve hits this one out towards first, but an error by the Eagles allows him to take his base. On the next hit, Ellsworth is able to clean it up and get the massive out at second. They close that inning out with no score. Hawks start hitting more consistently in the fifth inning, but look at this play from Coleman Welch. Stretches to get the ball and makes the play at first. Just an unreal stretch there. In the sixth inning we go. A wild pitch from Ellsworth sends Meserve home to make it a 3-1 game. That score gets closer too when Ellsworth walks a Hawks batter with the bases loaded. Landon Wood walks it in. It's 3-2, but Ellsworth sends in the closer, Jackson Berry, in the top of the seventh. He closes out in out number 3. Ellsworth improves to 13-1. We bring it back to Bangor now at Husson, where the John Bapst hosted Waterville. We pick it up in the bottom of the third inning. Bapst up 3-0. Felix Chase gets the strikeout to end the inning. Next frame, Waterville, though, looking to get the offense going. Oliver Levin drops down a great bunt, not only moving a runner from first to second, but he's safe at first himself. Next batter, Colby Haggerty, he gets the strikeout as he's trying to shut down a Waterville rally. But the following batter was Harper Hubbard, and he rips the RBI single to shallow left center, getting Waterville on the board. They now trail just 3-1, but in the fifth, the Crusaders would add to their lead. Waterville looking to turn on a double play, but the throw to first is off the mark, and Logan Martin gets home to score as John Bapst goes on to get the win on a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We'll now take a look at some other scores from around the area. In baseball, Coney with a big 10-6 win over Tacoma. Staying in baseball, Dexter picks up a slight 2-1 win over Bucksport. Caribou with a 7-3 victory over Fort Kent, and Old Town rolling over rival Orono 12-0 there. And then in softball, Bangor Christian with a 10-0 shutout of Central. Sumner with a 15-0 shutout of Searsport. Lawrence just edges out Gardner 4-3. Then Penquist Valley 14. They doubled up Stearns, who had 7. Well, Knicks fever is running rampant around the country as New York Knicks have reached the finals for the first time since 1999. New York completed the sweep of Cleveland on Monday night, winning 130-93 to secure the Eastern Conference title. They've now secured their spot in the NBA Finals for the first time in 27 years, which feels like an eternity for a basketball city like New York. Jalen Brunson has led the way for the Knicks while winning Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He says he hasn't even fully processed how his team has brought back basketball buzz to the Big Apple.
It means a lot, and it's something I haven't really put into perspective and thought about because, as I said before, now we're still writing our story, and so I think in due time I'll be able to answer that in full entirety. But I like the journey that we're on right now.
Knicks fans, good luck trying to get in the Garden. Those prices are pretty absurd for the finals. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We're right back after the break.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
Your call is important to us.
You've heard this before, too many times. Tired of being customer 45978? Yeah, we would be too. Speed means fast uploads, no lag, and zero buffering. But it also means calling you back, showing up on time, and treating you like a person, not a problem. So whether you're working, streaming, gaming, or all three, it is time to make the switch to a provider that actually tries. Go NetSpeed. Service isn't dead. It just moved local.
They say Maine is one small town with really long driveways. When we faced our toughest challenge in years, I was honored you let me into your homes. You trusted me to keep us safe, and together, we stood up to Donald Trump's lies about public health. I'm Nirav Shah, and I'm running for governor to bring that same results-driven approach to deliver for all Mainers. As governor, I'll run toward our biggest challenges: fixing housing, funding healthcare, and fighting Donald Trump.
Nirav Shah, governor.
You know, we can go into a room and have absolutely nothing in there, nothing on the windows, no color, no character, no tone to a room.
That's, I think, where we're strongest, is being able to help someone envision what's going to go in that window.
And we leave, it's totally transformed into something that the customer wants it to be. We've often been told we make a room look better just by leaving it.
Lights, camera, cheese! The Cheese House is looking for its next star, and it could be you. If you're 21 or older, enter for your chance to appear in the next commercial. Stop by the Cheese House at 5 Pike Drive in Fairfield to enter. While you're there, browse their huge selection of glassware and 420 specialty foods. But we have the cheese! Remember, entries are happening in person at the Cheese House, 5 Pike Drive in Fairfield. Bring your personality, bring your smile, and we have the cheese.
Paramount Paving, Maine's go-to for all your paving and seal coating. Paramount Paving offers commercial and residential paving and seal coating services throughout eastern and central Maine. Give us a call for a free estimate today. Paramount Paving. When it comes to paving, we are Paramount.
The United Football League is back. This is just the beginning.
Oh my goodness!
The United Football League on Fox.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. Bird flu and rising egg prices forced many to look for more affordable ways to get their eggs. One way was raising your own chickens. But now with the threat of disease lowered and egg prices down, the rising trend of raising your own chicks is dropping back to normal. Fox's Vincent Rupena has more.
In 2024 and 2025, a bird flu outbreak in the U.S. drove egg prices up to record highs, leading many people to search for a more affordable and reliable source than grocery stores.
An avian flu that came through, and people were worried about an egg shortage, basically.
Northern Star Mills in Chico offers a variety of chicks. Store owner David Jesperson says there were lines stretching out their doors in 2025, full of people looking to farm their own eggs. Whenever a new shipment of chicks would arrive, they were selling out within 15 minutes of opening.
What it did is it kind of got the idea in people's heads that, maybe they were even thinking about getting chicks, and this was their final kind of push to push them into it.
Now in 2026, the concerns over avian flu have lowered, and egg prices have dropped back down. Jesperson says they have seen the interest in chicks return to a normal level as a result.
But it's one of those crazes that tends to happen, like, everybody's talking about chicks, talking about getting them, you feel like you're rushed to get them, and so a lot of people did that.
Despite some people rushing into the commitment of raising baby chicks, Jesperson says buyers from last year are for the most part keeping their chickens, even after realizing there is not a significant cost benefit in farming your own eggs.
It's the nice of knowing where your food goes or comes from, what's going into the chickens, for the eggs. They're more nutritional, better quality, they taste better, and that's a real major factor for people.
Tonight, we're learning who made the cut for the men's national team to represent the U.S. at the 2026 World Cup. Fox News multimedia reporter Chelsea Torres reports from New York.
We're just a couple weeks away from the start of the 2026 World Cup. And now, we're learning who will represent the U.S. men's national team here on their home turf. Fans packing New York City's Pier 17 for the reveal of the U.S. men's roster. 26 players will represent the United States for the first men's World Cup in their home country in more than 30 years, and fans are excited.
It's absolutely cool to get to see who we're going to be rooting on in a few weeks.
Center Tim Ream is the U.S. captain. He's the veteran anchor for a backline that includes Chris Richards, Mark McKenzie, Austin Trusty, and Miles Robinson.
Drawing on the experience that we had in 2022 is going to be important. We have a group that knows what to expect and knows what's needed. The training starts tomorrow, and it's all hands on deck.
Star winger Christian Pulisic is poised to be the U.S.'s most dangerous scoring option.
He's got to step up and be the star this summer.
Pulisic leads an attacking group that includes Tim Weah, Malik Tillman, Gio Reyna, Brendan Aronson, and Alejandro Zendejas.
We're hoping for great stuff, so we've dreamt about this moment our whole entire life, so I'm happy to be here with my brothers.
While the U.S. is considered an underdog compared to some of the traditional heavyweights in Europe and South America, fans say don't count them out.
Hopefully can make a run. Trying to keep my expectations realistic, but if we can make the round of 16 quarterfinals, I would be thrilled.
The U.S. plays its first game against Paraguay on June 12th in Los Angeles, and you can catch it right here on Fox. In New York, Chelsea Torres, Fox News.
For millions of families, summer camp is a tradition, but between the cost, the options, and the registration deadlines, it can feel overwhelming. Fox News correspondent Caroline Shively has the story.
Summer camp. It's often thought of as an American rite of passage. A 2024 Gallup survey found 30 million kids and teens were engaged in some kind of summer activity. And if you haven't signed up yet, you may be too late.
Okay, Marty McFly, hope you have a DeLorean because you needed to do that back in February.
But American Camp Association CEO Henry DeHart says you could still be in luck.
When you're open to the idea of day camp, you're not too late this year.
The association found in a 2022 study that camp helps kids build on skills beyond the classroom.
Independence, social skills, grit, creativity, problem solving, leadership, sense of belonging.
It also provides an opportunity to unplug from today's digital world, and even a few weeks away can be a major boost to mental health.
A break from social media and away from technology and phones. The ability to build face-to-face relationships, time outdoors and being active outdoors.
And contrary to how they're sometimes portrayed, they're not all canoeing and hiking.
If you're really interested in rock climbing, you can do that, or horseback riding, but also things you wouldn't normally associate with camp, like theater or coding or STEM.
So when is the right time for your child to go? DeHart says every kid is different.
Some kids are just raring to go and can't get there fast enough, and others are a little bit more hesitant. Most kids are ready these days to go to camp before the parents are ready to send them.
Of course, the price is a factor. Sleepaway camps can run thousands of dollars a week.
Cost is a barrier.
But don't let that discourage you.
There's a camp out there for every family's budget.
DeHart says the majority of camps offer some kind of financial aid option or other perks like sibling discounts. Caroline Shively, Fox News.
Back here in Maine, Searsport Community says Main Street is undergoing a vibrant transformation, with new businesses and beautification efforts bringing energy and a renewed sense of community to the area. Our Grace Blanchard has the story.
It's come a long way. It actually has new life.
It's been nearly 1 year since construction wrapped up on the town of Searsport's multi-million-dollar Route 1 reconstruction project.
Was needed forever ago, but it looks beautiful. So we're really hoping that it invites people from away.
Since then, the area has started to see a boost in business.
It's rejuvenated us. It's if you look downtown, empty storefronts are filling up.
The renewed energy has also pushed beautification efforts back at the forefront, led by the team of volunteers on the new Enhancement Committee.
We didn't want to do what every other town does that's beautiful with the flowers and the flags. We thought, what could we do that was different?
And then I thought, oh, well, what about weather vanes?
On every downtown pole, you can now find a copper weather vane designed to capture the community's past and present.
I think people are really excited to see all of the things that are taking place, the plants, the copper weather vanes. I think it just makes everyone feel really good about the town.
Gilway says long-term, they hope to address parking challenges and affordable housing options. He says the growth of downtown is much more than new storefronts.
It's not just filling the stores with businesses. We're filling the stores with businesses who care about Searsport, and they're walking away with a sense of belonging.
In Searsport, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And finally here tonight, the Searsport Town Wharf may be soon going through a major transformation. Like many coastal communities, Searsport sustained major infrastructure damage from the back-to-back storms at the end of 2023 and early 2024. According to Town Manager James Gilway, the town has obtained a discretionary spending grant that was sponsored by Senators Susan Collins and Angus King. He says they plan to invest that money into the wharf to make it more resilient and vibrant.
Not just repair it, but make it a little bit more of a marina setting so that more pleasure boaters and commercial vessels can use it a little bit easier.
Gilway says they hope to begin working on that project by the end of this year. And folks, before we close our broadcast tonight, we'd like to give a special shout out to our executive producer, Eric Laser, as tonight is his last day working with us here at ABC 7 and Fox 22. He began his tenure here during our eclipse coverage back in 2024 and has been someone who can be counted on ever since. Eric, thank you for your determination to put together a good show, even under difficult circumstances. I've been glad to call you a coworker, but even happier to call you a friend. I'd say goodbye, but we have a tea time on Sunday morning, so I'll see you then. That's all we have for tonight. I'm Doug Banks. Good night.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC 7, right now for ABC 7 News at 11.
The Devil Wears Prada 2's Emily Blunt and Chef Jose Andres on a new Jimmy Kimmel Live tonight on ABC.
Decker Investigations.
I have a job for you.
Next Tuesday, ABC is serving an entire night of R.J. Decker.
Como se dice possible homicide?
With 3 back-to-back episodes, it's a triple decker of America's hottest PI.
That's straight gold, son.
Jump into one of the best new shows this year.
Repeat after me, okay? Everything is gonna be...
Try not to die tonight.
I will do my best.
A triple R.J. Decker, next Tuesday on ABC.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.
Investigators have ruled the fire and explosion at the